Okay, so this is the video to describe how to get the data and make the API work for the final independent project. And I'm going to start out with the Spotify R package. And so I went ahead and created a new notebook, and I would go ahead, you can leave it as untitled while you're working on it, but I would change it to Spotify analysis or police stops analysis, depending on which one you do. Just make sure you're in this i320 research methods space in RStudio Cloud. And I'm going to go ahead and what you will need to do first, I've already done it here, but you'll need to go into packages and then install Spotify R and click install. And it should be version 2 something, 2.1 maybe, something like that. And I've already got it here. Just going to show you that real quick. Make sure, you might even have it. I don't think I installed it. Yeah, there it is, 2.1. But you'll want to update it and make sure it's at the most recent version that exists. And then I'm going to load it with this. And then I'm also going to load the tidyverse. Yeah, that's it for now. Maybe Plotly too. The other thing that I recommend doing is going on the internet and looking for, let's see, it's this here, and it's this R. Charlie must be the name of the person who wrote the package, and just do a search maybe on, or go to rcharlie.com and Spotify R, and it just has instructions on how to use it. You'll have to go to Spotify and you can get a free Spotify account, or if you have a paid account, that'll work too, and then get a developer, make an app, and then use these commands here. I've already done that, so just to make sure it's working. I did it prior to making this video, but you'll need to go ahead and do that kind of thing, and then go into the Spotify developer account and get that all working. Then what I would recommend using is, there's a couple of ways to do this that you can read about on this site. You go to the reference here and you can see all the different things you can do. What I kind of like is this get artist audio features. And if you just put in, I did Bob Dylan before, so let's do that again. And I think, make sure you spell the name right. And I think I'm going to put it into an object called Dylan here. And what that will do is it'll basically get all of the tracks, at least all the ones that are on albums from Bob Dylan. There you can see it. And I'll show you. Let's do a glimpse of it. And it's kind of amazing how many different kind of pieces of information on each track. It has the key, major, minor. It has the duration in milliseconds, so how long is the song, the time signatures, is it in 4 or 3, and then it has all these kind of interesting, almost psychological measures of it: danceability, energy, loudness, speechiness, so how much talk is in it, acoustic, is it electric or acoustic, is it instrumental or are there vocals, and is it live or not. Valence is like how positive or negative it is. So there's all these different measures that are kind of really fun to play around with, and there's a lot of different things you can do with it. Just to show you a couple of examples, so you could, let's start with Dylan. You could do things, just real simple things like count, and I think it's, yeah, key name, or let's say key mode, which has the letter as well as whether it's major or minor, and then we'll do sort equals true, and that just shows you, what Bob Dylan played guitar, and so G is a popular guitar key, and so you just see what the popular keys are. We could see how many major and how many minor there were. So Dylan, what was it, mode, I think, mode name. So we're just going to count And then you could also graph these things, you know. We won't do sort. So mostly major, but some minor as well. And I would just recommend you kind of play around with that, do some graphs, maybe take an artist and do kind of a musical analysis of that artist. Um, you could do some graphs. Like I kind of think it's cool to look at stuff over time, especially for someone like Bob Dylan, who's been around forever. So we could do something like this. Um, let's see. Let's do ggplot. And then we could do ASX equals, because it has like the date of release. So we could say maybe album release, maybe just the year, album release year, and or maybe date, maybe album release date, and then maybe we can make Y, any of these things. Let's say, maybe acousticness. He has kind of a reputation for doing acoustic music, just him and a guitar early on, and then getting more electric later. So maybe, let's see, acousticness, and then maybe just do I guess a line graph maybe, or it could be a point. Let's try the line graph. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to see. Let's try the points. I don't know if that's any better, but it doesn't look to me like it's any more acoustic. I kind of like maybe the year instead of the date. That might be a little simpler to see. Yeah, and then you could do linear models there. You could do linear regression. That doesn't look like there's much there, but you could look at have someone's songs changed over time, like acousticness, or have songs gotten longer. You could look at duration and see if the songs have gotten longer over time. So just a lot of different things you can do, and I don't want to go too much into it because I want you to kind of just decide for yourself what you want to do. But that's the basic idea. Let's go ahead and create a new notebook. The other one I wanted to show you was this police data. And this is a site. I have it open here. If you go to let me go to the main page. If you go to openpolicing.stanford.edu, there's just a whole bunch of, not all of them, but a whole bunch of states, including Montana, that we can look at data on police stops. So like usually vehicle, like traffic stops. And so if we go to view data, you can see that for some of the states like California, they do it by city, and you can see, they have, 370,000 police stops in Long Beach, California, over a 10-year period. And let's go to Montana here. I think in Montana it's only the one data set instead of broken up into different cities. And you might notice that you can download it as a CSV file by clicking this little page icon, or what I recommend doing is clicking on the R, and that will download an R object that's already formatted a little bit in R. It has the data are set up a little nicer, but the main thing is it's a lot smaller, and so it still takes a few minutes to download and upload, but this I actually couldn't even make this CSV file work. It was taking too long, and it stopped working. So download the R file, and you don't have to do Montana. You can do whatever state you want or city, but I really recommend the R. Download the R file, and then what you'll need to do is come over to Files here, and then upload it. And this is what it looks like. It's this one here. It's this weirdly named JB084, etc. But that's the Montana police stops data. And you can see it has, it's 800,000. I mean, so it's like almost a million, police stops over a, whatever that is, 8-year period. So it's a huge data set. And some of the other ones are like, here's one, Charlotte, North Carolina, 1.5 million. So you might want to be careful about how big of a file you choose. But then once you get notice it's an R object, it's not like a CSV. And what you do to load it is click on it, and then you can name it here. And I would recommend, instead of naming it this ridiculous thing, I'm going to name it stops, like for police stops. And what that will do, Might take a moment. There we go. And so there you can see it appeared there as stops with 800,000 observations and 25 variables. And so let's, yeah, like before, you should make sure that you do your tidyverse and your maybe Plotly, or actually a couple of other ones. We might want to do Leaflet, which is for mapping, maybe even Lubridate, which is the one that deals with dates and times. And then, yeah, and then now if we glimpse the stops data, can see the variables. So notice it's got latitude and longitude, and so that's where the mapping comes in Leaflet, so we can do a little mapping. But it has, basically it has the date of a stop, some information about who was stopped, the person's age and race and sex, the type of violation it was. It has some information about the vehicle. So I mean, you could decide, you might focus on what vehicles are stopped the most, or the reason for the stop, and there's just so many different things you can do with this. So, you might just start out with doing some counts, like subject sex. So are men or women stopped more, right? And so definitely more men, 2 to 1 or so. But that's the kind of thing, yeah, and you might graph that kind of thing. So you might focus on who is stopped in Montana, or another state or city, and do a breakdown of that. In fact, one of the reasons the data set was originally created is to look at racial bias in police stops. And so you might look at a particular city, and they could do things like, what is the population of that city, and then who is stopped the most. You could do some graphs of the subject age. You could do it like a histogram of the age. You could focus on vehicles, so you could do stuff like this. Let's see, count vehicle, is it make, or let's say vehicle make, and then sort equals true. And then you can see, which cars are stopped the most. And you probably do some factor collapsing here, because it looks like they're like Chevrolet. There's a Chevrolet. There's another Chevrolet here, and then there's another Chevrolet here. Toyota. So you could do some collapsing, but basically, look at what kinds of cars are stopped the most. You could do like a let's say here's something you could do. And the reason I loaded that Lubridate is you could they have the date and the time. So like which day, and then what time of day. And so you could do things like let's see here. Let's do a mutate, and you could look at let's do day of the week. So let's say day equals, and then in Lubridate, the packet, the command to get the weekday is this w day and then date. Yeah, I think that, let's see if that works. And then we can do count day and see when the most traffic stops occur, like which day of the week, maybe the weekends or whatever. Let's see if that works. Yeah, there we go. Oh, and actually, so we see I think it's label equals true. So we see the what the day is instead of the number. Let's try that again. There we go. So it looks like, yeah, so they're all pretty similar actually, but it looks like Friday and Saturday. And you could do, remember, you could do the drop NA date, I guess, to get rid of those, the NA there. There's not that many, there's only 11, but There you go. Now, I wanted to show you something about mapping. One of the things I want you to be careful about with mapping is that, remember, we've got what was it, 825,000 observations. You do not want to map that many points. That's way, way too many. I would say a couple hundred at the most. And so what you'll want to do before you do any mapping is filter it. So let's do stops, and then let's say we want to filter maybe let's say only Yellowstone County. So I think, was it county? Yeah, county name, and then the county names are all in capital letters, so it would have to be something like this. County, and remember, two equal signs, equals, and then Yellowstone, and then maybe even, I mean, even that's probably too many. I mean, if we just count those, what did I do wrong there? Oh, it's county name, was it? County name. There we go. So even that's 60,000. That's way too many to map. So what we might do is also filter on year. So let's see. Year is the command to get the year out of the date. So maybe year equals two equal signs, and then maybe only 2016. I think it was 2009 to 2016. And let's see how many are in that. So even that's probably too many. That's 7,000. So maybe we could do month of the date equals maybe, let's say, July. It's the 7th month. Let's see if that's a more, two equal signs. There we go. Okay, so that's much more like it. So right, so what we did is we took 1 month out of 1 year and 1 county, and we've got 600. So we should be able to map those. So what we can do then is, like, let me just keep that, and then I'll copy this, and then get rid of the count. But now is where we could do leaflet. So we have leaflet, and then we always want to do the add tiles. Is it? Yeah, add tiles, capital T, and then it's add circle markers. Yeah, and so it's already got the latitude and the longitude of this police stop. And so what we can do is just do add circle markers, and it'll automatically find the latitude and longitude. And let's see if that works. There we go. So a little picture, and you can see where the police stops occurred. You know, if we zoom in a little bit, they're mostly going to be on the highway here. But actually you can see there a lot of them are on Main Street. I think that's, yeah, Main Street. So anyway, you could kind of do some maps like that. You could look and see which counties have the most stops. Are they out of state or in-state vehicles that are stopped the most? There's just a million different things you could do. You could graph stuff. You could look at how have stops changed over time, because it's got the date. You could do a heat map of what weekday and time of day the stops are most likely to occur. So to do it for time, you could do something like this, where you start with stops. And let's see, how would I do this? I think maybe if we did hour, extract the hour from the time, so we don't need to know the exact minute and second that is recorded. But then let's see, what am I doing? Hour equals like that, and then we could do a count of the hours of the day. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so there, I guess that would be midnight, 1 a.m. You can see there's a drop at 4 a.m., but it picks back up again. And see what time of day. You could do like a heat map where you do this, and then do the other one where you have you take out the weekday, and do, kind of do a heat map, and you could filter it and just look at Yellowstone. Anyway, you get the idea. There's a lot of different things you can do. So I think that gives you kind of a little overview of the Police Stop data set and then of the Spotify API. And I want you to kind of just play around with it a little bit, use some of the techniques that we've been using this semester to do some analyses. Pick one of these, whichever one you feel like you like the most, or you feel like you can, make it do what you want it to do the easiest, and then do that, and then that'll be the independent project. All right.